Hey guys, welcome back to DIY Projects with Pete. In today's episode, we're going to build a toddler chair. I'm really excited because this is a real fun, simple, and rewarding project, and you could give it to a son or a daughter, maybe gift it to a niece or a nephew, or to a grandson or granddaughter, or you could donate it to a charity, maybe for something like a silent auction. Now this is cheap to make. It doesn't take long to do, and like I said, I think you're going to enjoy it. So let's go ahead and get started. The first step is to cut the two front legs to size. I'm just using some scrap wood I had left over from another project, but we'll go ahead and make our first cut here. We'll measure over according to the plans, and then make each of your cuts to form the front two legs. Next, we'll move our miter saw over to 15 degrees, lock it in place, and we're going to cut two cuts that are parallel to each other at 15 degrees.
And these are going to be the back legs for the chair.
Then you can either trace this or you can remeasure it. I'm just going to trace it and make your second cut. And those are our two rear legs. Now we'll move on to the armrest supports. It's going to be flat on one side for the cut. The other side is going to have a 15-degree angle. So we'll measure for the length of the longest point. Move it over to 15 degrees. Then we can either trace this piece or you can measure it out again.
The next step is to measure for the notch on the two front legs where that front support is going to go.
We'll put a 3.5-inch gap for that 2x4 that's going to connect the legs. And then it's going to be 1.5 inches deep. Use a speed square to connect everything. I'll just use a couple strap blocks so I can get this board up and create a little space to make my cut.
You can use a circular saw to start out the cut to help get it as straight as possible and then finish it with a jigsaw, or simply use a jigsaw for the whole cut and you'll be just fine.
Then we'll finish the back side of the cut here. Then you just want to check to make sure that the 2x4 will fit. Fits pretty nicely right there.
Once the first leg is complete, cut the notch on that second leg.
Next, grab an orbital sander, throw on some 220 grit sandpaper. We'll go around any of the rough edges and we'll smooth out the boards before we assemble. Then we can lay out the front and back leg. I like to use a straight edge sometimes. And then this will be the armrest support, and we'll measure back 8.5 inches from the front. And that will be where the rear leg will be connected at. So we'll put it here. And what I like to do is just make sure that this is nice and square here. So those should be flush to each other, flush to the front, flush to the top. Looks nice and square. We're gonna pre-drill. And we're just using 2.5-inch long wood screws for this with the star head. Put that in. Hold that joint nice and tight. And then we had measured 8.5 inches back with a 5-inch distance between that. We're just going to line it up. All right, so this is nice and flush. We're at the 5-inch line. If I put a straight edge or just a board on the bottom, the legs sit on it flat, just like it would on the actual floor of your deck. So we'll go ahead and just do 3 wood screws again. and this right side is now complete, so we'll work on the left side. So this will orient with the shortest part on the bottom again. The leg will be like this. Okay, we'll make sure that this is flush on top and in the front. You could certainly clamp this if you'd like. Again, we'll measure 8.5 inches back from the front. And this front portion, front corner, will match up with that.
And if you're interested in building a double chair version of this for kids or for adults, I have videos and plans for all sizes linked to in the description.
Next, we'll cut our front support board. All right, so we can fit these together. And then we'll flip it just like this. We'll line that front support board up so that it's flush with the sides of your outer leg. We'll pre-drill. And you could, of course, go from the front. We're just trying to hide a couple screws.
And use 3-inch long screws for this connection.
Then we'll go at an angle. We'll flip it around. Line this up so it's flush. Check for square anywhere you'd like. We'll go in at a slight angle just so we can get around this back leg. All right, let's stand it up. Then we'll cut our seat slat supports, a flat end on one side and a 15-degree angle on the other. We'll rotate this on the side, and then we'll grab that lower seat slat support, and we'll line it up so that it is flush with the top of the front support. Now that that first one is in, we'll just double check that gap, rotate that until it's 1.5 inches as well. And it's looking good. Flip it over to this other side. Add our support. Make sure this is flush with the top of your front support board. We'll start with one 2.5-inch screw. We'll put the rear support board right here. Just cutting that rear support board. This is going to be about 18.5 inches. I'm always losing my tape measure and my pencil and my pens and my knife and all my tools. So I have these are called SWAT clips, and it's actually a company from close to where I live. These are awesome. So if you're a DIYer and want to not lose your tools, get some of these. We've got our tape measure there, so we're going to head back inside. We'll flip this back over. So this is the underside of the frame, and we'll slip in this back piece. That'll square everything up. And you just want to make it so that it is flush with the underside of the angle here. And there we go. Flip it around. Pop in this last one here. The next step is going to be to cut our backrest supports, and it's going to be in line with these boards. You can see that these line up nicely, and they're both at those 15-degree angles. So the backrests are going to be 15.5 inches long with a 15-degree angle on one side and a 90 at the other. Now we'll take our back supports. This 15-degree angle will rest right on your lower support, and then it's going to line up flush with the back of these two boards. And I'm just going to roughly put it in place and clamp it so that we can figure out the orientation. We want to make sure that we like this side of the board out. And then I will go ahead and just put this on real quickly. And then we'll take a look at how we want to round it off. So I'm just going to round off this back corner. You can use a roll of tape or a paint can and just set it on top. We'll go like this. And then we'll just cut this off with a jigsaw. I'm actually going to take this off, I'll cut it, and then I'll use it as a template to get that other one just like it.
All right, are you ready to build a chair?
We'll clamp these on just to see what they look like, okay, buddy? I think that's lining up pretty nicely. And this lines up pretty nicely. Let's go like this. We'll pre-drill. I'm gonna put 2 screw holes. There we go. Oh, thank you. That's perfect. Thanks for helping. So let's go like that. I'll do one more. That way the wood doesn't split. We'll put one more piece here, and that'll make it easier to support our slats.
These 2 short boards act as blocking, so we'll be able to attach the seat slats to them in a later step. And I'm pre-drilling and then putting the screws in prior to attaching them just to make it a little easier.
There we go. So then we got 2 more to put in. Let's twist it around. And then I can unclamp it. Let's measure. We'll do our seat slats and our backrests. So we'll just basically slide them in like this. We'll test fit them right now. We'll leave some gaps between so that rain can go through. And then we'll try and evenly space them. And then we just got to add our backrest, right? We got 15.5. Sound good? So we'll cut 3 boards to 15.5. So this one, let's overlap it about a 1/2 inch. And we're just countersinking it a little bit. Yep, we'll give it a little clamp. Make sure that it squares it up so that, yep, okay, that's a good mark, that's good. All right, clamp that in place.
There we go.
Yep. Okay. And then, let's do this one. Will help us get that last one there, last one there. Yeah, buddy. One more. Okay, better try it out. See what you think so far. We just got the armrest to go. Do you like it?
Yeah.
So we'll put this here. It's going to be flush with the back.
Mark to do a slight round over on the front corners and draw a line for a straight cut on the rear outside corner. Attach each armrest using 4 2.5-inch long screws.
There we go. Let's try it out. What do you think?
It's very good.
We did a quick cleanup of the shop, and this is a great habit to get them into while they're young. And then I rolled the chair outside to do one final sanding. Smooth out all the surfaces your little one might touch, paying special attention to the tops of the seat slats, backrests, and armrests to make sure that they don't get any slivers.
It's time to give this little toddler chair a finish. We're going to use some timber oil. This is a walnut color. Made sure to shake it up plenty, and then we'll just apply a couple coats. Goes on real easily.
Use a rag to wipe the stain on the surface and a cheap paintbrush to get into the hard-to-reach areas. There's all sorts of different deck and fence stains and outdoor furniture finishes, so find one that will look great on this chair for out on your patio. To speed up the drying process, I rolled the workbench out into the sun and let the chair dry about an hour between coats. And that second coat is going to darken the wood up a little bit more, and it's going to help even out the finish.
Okay, slow in first gear.
Jack just turned 3 and he got a gator for his birthday from his Nana, so we've been finding all sorts of ways he can use it to help out. All right, thanks so much for tuning in. I hope this video inspires you to build a project for a little kiddo. If you would like the plans, you can find a link to purchase them in the description below. Consider subscribing and giving the video a thumbs up if you found it helpful, and we'll see you next time.
Look at, we got all of us.
See
See you later, alligator.
Toodaloo!
Kangaroo,
Kangaroo
take care.
over there.